Hi everybody, welcome to the Kadima SCA mission. It's February 2024. I'm here with a very special group of people, but really the leaders of this particular mission who have really been in the leadership of the missions that have come from the community over the past 4 months. So I'm going to ask each of them who I have witnessed have formed relationships in the various communities we've been to. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, just so you know who we're talking to.
Hi, I'm Dweck. I'm Bobby Dweck, community member, SCA board member.
I'm Ikey Cabasso, community member, and Zip.
I'm Raymond Tawil, Ray T, from Prep by Ray T, community member.
Okay, and just so you know where we're live from, we're broadcasting from Netivot in southern Israel, and we're just gonna get started. So these young men were on one of the community's very first missions in October, when things were really difficult here in Israel. So if I can ask each of you to please share what made you choose to come to Israel when you did, when really people were not coming.
When October 7th happened, just so you understand, we're outside of a smoke shop in the middle of Netivot in the strip center, so just to bear with us as people are going inside and out. We actually have an audience as well, so just so you know. So when the attack happened in Israel, I remember there were a few things that happened that day. I was in Lashwood Shul when I got the news of the attack, and I was told later that day that one of my teachers, Rabbi Shani, his son was killed in an attack down in Gaza, and I immediately was trying to find out the news. It was still coming in throughout the day. By the day after, sorry, we're just getting so the day after the attack, I remember making a call to my brother David to ask him what is going on in Israel, because it still wasn't clear what was happening. And he had told me that they were under attack, there were sirens that had gone off, and that a lot of the terrorists were still around, and that he just felt very alone and very scared. His son was told to go to the army, and he was told that most of the community had left and was hopping planes to get back out of Israel. And I remember calling up Rabbi Aluf at the time, and I called up Rabbi Harold because I was saying at least the Moreshet, there were kids that were going to be in school that would be there to help out, because they still didn't understand the magnitude and severity of it. But once we found out that all the kids had left, and then I imagined that the loneliness that was going on between Rabbi Shani losing his son, Rabbi Shiyah losing his son, the yeshiva emptying, my brother having his son go to the army, my other son being called to the army. There was so many things going on at the time, and for the next 2 weeks I don't think I slept. I kept saying to myself, I have to get to Israel somehow. And I remember getting the faithful call from Rachel, and if it wasn't for Rachel's call as much as anything else, when he called me up and he said, Bobby, I don't know, all I know is I want to go to Israel, I want to barbecue for soldiers, I don't have money with me to do right now, but I will do anything to barbecue for soldiers. And his quote was, I trust if you go, then I know I'll be safe, because if Jesse takes me there, I might end up in Hebron. So he was, as long as I'm with you, Bobby, as long as you're with me, I'm okay. Now for the next week, I was tossing and turning, was not sleeping. I just knew one thing, that we had a community here that felt very alone, the country felt alone, and more importantly, I kept hearing my brother's voice constantly saying how no one is here, and I kept hearing the rabbi's voice, and I kept saying all these people, they lost their lives of their kids, they went to soldiers that went into the army, and we're going to sit here, and we're able to sit here and be able to sit home and just ship them stuff. I just felt something didn't feel right about it, and for the next week and a half, I was just grappling with the fact that we knew we had to get on a plane to go to Israel, And I called, when Ray T called me, I called Jesse. I said, Jesse, I know you might be going. So Jesse goes, yeah, me and Daniel Levy are going to go. We were going to go Tuesday night. It was Sunday when we decided we were going to go. We said, why don't we just push it to next Saturday night? And we'll go with a bunch of guys Saturday night. Hopefully the war would start and we'd know where we stand by then. That didn't happen. And I remember when Daniel Levy was going to come with us, I got a call from his father, Ikey Levy, who said to me very nicely, Daniel Levy's not getting on the plane. So I said, I understood my life was in danger. So at that point, I sat there just grappling, and next thing I know, it was Tuesday. We leaned into all of a sudden we could only have 15 guys going. All of a sudden, next thing I know, I get a call. I'll never forget the call I got. Alberto Sutton called me at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning. We were leaving Saturday night. Alberto gets me on the phone and goes, I'm coming with you to Israel. And that was right after we were just told it sold out with no more than 15 people. So I just told the guys, I said, we have another person coming, Alberto, which we all know means Solomon Tower is coming as well. And before we knew it, it turned out to be 25 people. And it was great.
So I was actually at this. So obviously October 7th happened. It was a horrific day. Really, I struggled with the news. Days went by. I was on Twitter. I was on Instagram, trying to really grapple with what was going on. The center, Sparta Community Center, ran an awesome event on Saturday night. Jesse spoke. I went to school with Jesse. Jesse approached me and said, "We got to do something. Let's go to Israel." So, of course, in passing, I said, yeah, I'm in. I didn't really believe that was even an option or reality at that point. A few days went by. Ray T called me and said, I heard you're coming. Coming where? I really didn't know I really didn't know what was going on. I heard you're coming to Israel. You should come. Tossing and turning. Probably Thursday was when I really decided, okay, I want to go.
Wednesday night at hockey.
Yeah, we were at so Ray T's son and Jesse's son both play on the Ice Cats with my son. They play ice hockey together. We were at hockey. Jesse said, we're really going to Israel Saturday night. Do you want to join us? And I needed a second to really think and understand it. I realized that there was an opportunity, one, to teach my kids how important the state of Israel is to the Jewish people. And if I can go and give them that, it was worth it going. And two, I didn't have a way to really help. I'm not in a position to send a check for $1 million. It's not where I was at in my point in my life. So I knew I'm a type of person that could do. So I said, I'm in. Under the premise that we leave the hotel at 6 a.m. and we come back at midnight. It needs to be non-stop chesed to make it worth it. If I'm going to risk my life and I'm going to put myself in a position of danger, it needs to be worth it. And we went. It was life-changing. It might have been selfish in the beginning deciding to go, to be honest, because I did it for myself and I needed to be there. I'm happy I did. Ultimately, I thought it would close a chapter in my life where I would be able to say I did what I did. Ultimately, this is now my third time here, so obviously that wasn't my due. Once you're here on the ground, you really understand. You understand the need. You understand what really happened on October 7th and where we're needed. And ultimately, there's no end to the need.
So like Ikey said and Bobby said, October 7th happened and we were really left in a situation, living chutz la'aretz of the question, what could we do? So, the community, as great as the community is, everybody ran, to speak to their fathers, to speak to their grandfathers, and to get their shuls together and their schools together, and to donate as much money as possible. As many pieces of equipment that they could get together as possible, medical aid, all these things which are super important and are still super important. But, like Ikey touched on, it's just, I wasn't in a position to write a check for $100,000 or $500,000, and I already stretched myself monetarily, and I was still left with this feeling of, it can't be that this is all I'm supposed to do. So, after work, whenever there was downtime, I was just left saying, I have this talent, I have this skill, I have things that I know how to do other than let's just get my money together, or let me just send something and ship something and everything will be fine. So, and I was pacing at night, and it was very hard to sleep at night. And my wife just looked at me and said, maybe you need to go. And I said, what? I said, what? You're telling me? My wife turned to me and said, maybe you need to go. So once my wife gave me that chizuk, that maybe you need to go, and she opened that door and made that a possibility, that's when I made a phone call to Bobby. And I said, Bobby, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not okay. Things are not okay. I want to cook. And I know that if there's a guy who's doing something, you're doing something. So he said, as a matter of fact, I am in the middle of doing something. I'm talking to Jesse. I go, who's Jesse? He goes, Jesse Salem. I go, you got to tell Jesse I'm in. Whatever Jesse's doing, I'm in. So, that happened. That conversation happened on Sunday night. We got Jesse to hold off on his trip from going on Tuesday, and he moved it to Saturday night. We ended up with 25 people, and I never looked back from there. And I'm always left with the feeling whenever I come home that there's more to do here.
Wow, guys. Shout out to Peter. So you each were on 3 of the missions that brought different people each time. And I wanted to know if you could share with us what was the character of each of the missions, because I definitely know that your first mission is not like this one. So.
I guess Hineni I would speak about, but you take.
Let's speak about Hineni.
So Hineni was an idea that came up by the SCA. Jeffrey, Veda, and Irene came on the trip with me. My wife came with me as well. It was an opportunity to bring college-age kids to the state of Israel. While we're living in America, these kids are in colleges that are facing horrific senses of anti-Semitism. It was a huge opportunity. So this trip was really to educate them and help them understand that the state of Israel is here to protect them. That we're not the Jews of the 1940s. We have strength. We have an army defending us. It was an experience that I'll never forget. I would say we got back to the hotel room on one night. So Wednesday night an opportunity came up. Thursday night was supposed to be a free night for the kids to go enjoy their free time. Me and Jesse had been speaking to a commander. He said, I have a unit leaving Gaza that have been there for 40 days, a paratrooper unit. They would love a barbecue as they walk out. So understanding you've seen these barbecues, a lot of them are an opportunity to mingle with these soldiers. These soldiers are leaving Gaza. They've been there for 40 days. All they want to do is go home to their family, friends, wives, kids. So there's not really an opportunity much to mingle. It would be a true act of chesed if these kids wanted to do it. So I looked at Jeffrey, I said, this is a huge opportunity. What do we do? And believe it or not, before that, me and Jesse decided, how do we even approach this? Because we knew it was a difficult question. So Jeffrey was very smart about it. He said, let's ask the kids. We turned around and said, guys, an opportunity came up. We can make a barbecue on the border for these soldiers leaving. You're going to lose your free night. Do you want to do it? Before Jeffrey even finished the question, everyone on the bus said, I'm in. It really exemplified the trip Hineni. We finished that night. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I got back to the room with my wife and I said, we live in an amazing community. We always hear the kids today and they're not with it. Our kids are amazing, and it was an opportunity to see that, and to me that was an important part of that trip.
So I had a great opportunity in being able to go on the family-to-family trip. What had happened after I got back from the first mission, I looked at my wife. We were in the middle of planning with the vacation, and I said, to be very, very honest with you, I'm going to be a little selfish here, and I'm going to say that there's 2 options on the table. Option number 1 is we stay home. Option number 2 is we go to Israel. But I'm not really so comfortable, doing anything else other than those 2 options. So I don't know if my wife thought, I was bluffing or whatever it was, but she turned to me and she said, okay, so we'll go to Israel. I said, in my good ear? She said, yeah, we'll go to Israel. You want to take the kids? We'll take the kids. But I got one rule. We're taking Sammy, who's my 1-year-old. I said, okay, if that's the deal, then I can take Sammy. We'll do that. And that trip was built, with me and Jesse eating dinner in Cafe Renaissance with 2 unbelievable, strong, brave women whose father was taken hostage and was actually just recently returned to them. Thank God. And after that dinner, me and Jesse turned to each other and said, we have to go back and we have to take our families. So we really got a great opportunity and such a special opportunity to do what everybody's responsibility, in my opinion, to do now is to give the love of Eretz Israel over to the younger generation. They have to love Israel. It's okay if you don't want to tell them everything that's going on and you don't want to get into details, but they have to know that Israel is our home and that we don't exist if the state of Israel doesn't exist. There's no reason for our existence without the state of Israel. So they need to love Israel and they need to know that Israel is home. So I got the very, very special opportunity to show that to my 7-year-old son, my 5 and 3-year-old daughter, and my 1-year-old son alongside my wife and my sister-in-law. It was a very, very special trip that, again, nothing will ever be the feeling of the first trip, but this was its own unique, special feeling that no other trip will give me that feeling. So every trip is different.
I'll speak about the first trip, and this is only a few days old, but I'll speak of the first trip. The first trip, I have to tell you, in all the years that I visited Israel, and so many different trips I've taken to Israel, never did I get off a plane and feel the love from every single person in Israel. And I remember when I first showed up at my brother David's house for the first time, and just to give him a hug, to give my sister-in-law, and to give my nieces a hug, just to let them know that I'm there for them. And you saw how much they appreciated it. And before I knew it, we went to about 7 or 8 or 9 different army bases. And people still say till today, you guys were crazy to do something as crazy as that. And yes, you're right, we are crazy. And there was no way of rationalizing why we did it other than it was family, and we just felt we had to be there for them. And it wasn't about anything else other than going everywhere and just telling them we're here for you, we want to be there for you. So the country at that point was in shock. They didn't go into war yet. We didn't know if a missile was going to come at any moment in that first couple of days because we didn't know when the war was going to start. So there was a nervousness, there was an anxiousness. My back was out for a few days during that trip. And I literally just pushed through every single morning. We were up at 7 in the morning. We stayed till midnight. We didn't care because I said, I'm not going to push through. If you got all these guys sacrificing, the soldiers are now in the army risking their lives. You got these hostages that are taken. You got the whole country reeling from an economy that nobody's at work. There's 300,000 people displaced overnight in different hotels. And that trip to me changed my life completely because it was the time where I felt the most uncomfortable that I could ever be in my life, but the most rewarding feeling ever to be able to come on that trip. And the one thing we wanted to do at that point was to set the tone so that God willing to change the conversation, the community, to go from just shipping stuff to getting on a plane and starting to get there. And thank God, since that first trip, there's been over 40 different solidarity trips from all different organizations. So from that point, it's very rewarding, and to culminate with this trip of taking another group of young adults and another SCA trip, Kadima, and the reason we named it Kadima was to move forward, help them build. And on this trip, there's a different feeling. It's starting to help them build and move forward with what looks like, God willing, close to towards the end of something where we'll start to build something fresh.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you. I could see the relationship that you've built with people when we go to the communities. If you could share something that someone shared with you that you think it's important for the community to know.
So it's important to tell you, the night before that I left on the first mission, I went to my parents' house, I went to say bye to them. My mother gave me a big hug, my father, a long beracha, and I was just like, Dad, like, I don't know, like, am I doing the right thing by going? What is it that I'm really going to be able to do there? I'm not a fighter. I'm not an Israeli citizen. Like, am I really going to go make a difference? So my father said, look, listen, I was there in Israel during the 6-Day War. I didn't leave, I stayed, and I did anything possible that the people needed, whether it's, stocking the grocery store shelves or helping someone cross the street. All the men are at war. Go and do. So I said, okay, fine, I'll go and do. So we get to Israel, we land. It's the day that we left. We left on a Saturday night. The whole day Saturday, you couldn't talk to me. People in shul like, what's up with you? And I'm like, I'm going to Israel. And they go, well, that's your fault. And I was like, yeah, okay, I guess so. Thanks for that encouragement. But once we landed and we touched ground in that airport in Ben Gurion, and we saw the hostage posters, and we saw no people, and the feeling, it's a hard feeling to describe. We knew that we were onto something. We knew that we were definitely there for a reason, and something great was going to happen. So when you say, what did somebody say to me that stuck with me? It's every single person in Israel, every single day that we were there, saying thank you to me, saying thank you to the group, saying thank you to this group of people who have no idea what they're doing and who really have no business being in a war zone at the time. But they came and they said thank you to us just for coming. It wasn't thank you for the barbecue. It wasn't thank you because you gave us money or anything like that. It was thank you for coming, physically showing your support and giving us this hug. That means everything to us. So thank you is what stuck to me.
You guys wanna?
I could only say there's one thing that stuck out to me, but it's from a long time ago. And what gave me the impetus to go was in 2004, 2003 or 2004, there was a bunch of bus bombers in Israel. There were suicide bombers, everything was being blown up. And I decided that was a perfect time to take my wife and my 2 kids to Israel. We were the only ones in the hotel. And it was just us in the King David Hotel. Literally, they gave us the presidential suite. There was no one there. And I remember it was a trip within that year. That was the trip. But I remember going to visit the Hatuel family, who was in Gush Katif at the time, where his wife, who was pregnant with 7 children, got killed in Gush Katif, was shot and killed. And we went to pay respects 2 days later to this family. And I'll never forget the words, because we were in shock. The guy just lost his whole family in a moment. And it's 2 days later, and we're going to visit. And I remember saying, were they going to comfort him? And he turned to us at the table, and he said, you don't have in Israel the time to look back. You have no time to look backwards. And there's only one word in Israel that makes all the difference, and it's kadima. We don't have time. We must always move forward. So when you leave this room, remember, no matter what happens to Israel, we move forward. And that was the impetus for even today, this trip that we have here has been continue no matter what happens. We can get knocked down, but Israel will always get back up and we'll be stronger for it. So that was always the word that stuck with me. That anytime anything ever happened in life, kadima.
So it really is it's a loaded question, because every single person that you interact with in the state of Israel has a story. To see where to go with this is quite difficult. I'm going to share 2 because I think it's important. Yesterday we were at the Nova site of the Nova Festival, and we met one of the guys from Zaka that really did holy work. I mean, it's Kodesh, really unbelievable work. And one of the kids asked, said, how did you have the cough? And he said, I don't, and I didn't, but I have to move forward. It's interesting to see the personality. I don't know if I would react that way. I think the people of Israel are resilient and they're strong. And another great example, we were on the plane, flying here on that first trip, and we see these big guys with tattoos all over going to the state of Israel. What do you do? I expected
with a mohawk.
I expected to see I don't know, people like me or religious people, or I don't know what I expected to see on the plane. I thought the plane would be empty. I see these 28 firefighters, special rescue units, and I asked, where are you going? Is it a stop? Are you going to? They said, let me tell you, when that tower came down in Surfside, the first people on the site were Jews. Hatzalah was the first ones there. And to me, that was a huge impact. A huge impact. How it justified the means of why we were going.
Thank you. Ray, so how is it barbecuing for soldiers?
It's very hard to put into words the feeling that you get. I mean, I do what I do because I love to service people. I love to see their reaction when they taste delicious food. I love to show off a little, my culinary expertise. I love to be around the food, but when I came over here, it's about being humble and keeping your head down and just saying this is the least I can do for the people who are the real heroes sacrificing their life, but to see the look on their face when you're serving them something hot off the grill. I mean, when they're coming in and out of Gaza, they're not having hot food like this. They're not having people serve them. They're getting shot at. People want them dead. So when they come back to be greeted over a hot grill and some great food, I mean, to be a guy who's able to service them and to take care of them for 10 minutes is like, it's beyond.
They did love it. Ikey, you run the SYBK Israel Mission Instagram. That's really been inspirational for a lot of people.
That nobody knew until now.
Nobody knew that he
just
started.
uncovered
There you go.
that he's the guy behind SYBK. Okay, you just
The
out
gossip girl.
Okay.
All right. Well, how's it been?
It's been amazing. It was an idea. When we went on that first trip, we looked at each other and we said, how do we do more? How do we continue this? And speaking with Daniel, speaking with Jesse, I said, if we're gonna go, we're 15 people that are gonna have this opportunity. Other people need to share it with us. Let's make an Instagram so they could follow us. That was the first step. And then we said, let's hand it off to the next groups, which was awesome. We were able to hand it off to the next groups. They were able to share their stories. The messages that we got on it were endless. Really, I credit the first trip, the idea of Jesse, the idea of Ray pushing me to these further missions, the ability to be able to give people insight. Not everyone can come. It's expensive. It's not free to be here. Not everyone's in a position to get on a plane. Not everyone's in a position of health to be able to be here. So to be able to share our stories, our experiences, our community's experiences is rewarding.
I think we should mention Jesse's being a little bit psychotic, and that sort of.
We call him fearless leader.
Yeah, we call him fearless leader because he didn't care where the hell we went, and he took us to places no one would ever go, even on a normal.
I
day.
knew we were crazy, but I knew we were crazy when we stepped out of a bus. We had no idea where we are. The bus was a little bit lost. We were lost. The guy didn't want to tell us we were lost.
That's right.
Well, we were lost.
That's right.
We had an army escort.
We had
that
an
got
army
lost.
escort. We lost the army escort. Now, you're with an army escort. That means you're in the south and you're in a bad place. Okay? And we lost him. And it was pitch black, and the bus driver stops. And we're in the West Bank. The bus driver stops, and now we're bugging out. We're telling each other, it's over. This is how we go. Our wives are going to bug. I don't know. Jesse, what are we doing? And he's like,
Life insurance
Nobody
policy.
called their
and
wife.
Jesse was just like, I don't know what we're doing. And all of a sudden, the door opens up, think Alberto was the first
Oh,
one.
Alberto and Sully?
Alberto and Sully walked out with a cereal box of cigarettes, and he just starts dancing. He just starts dancing, and all of a sudden lights shine on him from 3 Hummers. The Sahel comes rushing out. Mate Mosimbo, Mate Mosimbo, you know? And we just start singing. Amisaya, and now they're looking at each other and they hold our hands. Now we start dancing. I'm in the back of the bus. Takes me a minute to get off. I get off the bus and I look at one of the soldiers who isn't dancing, you know? And he's just looking like this. I go, זה נכון מה שאנחנו עושים? זה טוב או לא טוב? זה לא, לא, זה לא טוב. And we get back on the bus after this experience, and Jesse looks at us and says, "This is the craziest thing you've ever done, and I would have never done this in my life." Something just comes over you when you're here. These guys, they give you a strength, a koach, a power. They empower you. You all feel powerless in America. There's nothing you could do. There's no one there fighting for you. There's no one there who loves you or cares about you. But with the second you enter this place, there's a whole army, a whole police station, Marines, everybody here whose sole job is to protect us. So we felt invincible, and we were invincible at that time.
Yes. I have to tell you, it was funny because Sully and Alberto definitely added the spice, where we stopped at every single police army base anywhere along the line on the highway. We saw an army guy, they got out and gave out leads.
Sully almost got shot over
Sully
it.
almost got shot because they didn't expect also a bunch of guys running off a bus and throwing out leads. But it turned out to be, it was really an incredible experience. But I will tell you, Daniel Levy was the best. Saturday night at the airport, I go, "Daniel, your father was going to kill me if you got on the plane." Because my father's in Amsterdam right now. He does not know I'm on the plane. He won't know till I land. We won't take any pictures till I land. I just want you to know that this is how psychotic what went on in that first trip was. That we actually did things that nobody would ever do.
And it's still going on.
It's still going
on. Every time we come home, we're planning the next trip.
The best one was we were sitting in Israel, and the funny part was people at home were going, "We're scared. How you doing?" And I'm watching kids locked in Cooper Union at the time. They were locked in the room.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Just lock the library, protect them."
We're having
and
shawarma.
they're having shawarma, and I see we're having shawarma, we're hanging out, and they're all on protest, and we're saying we feel safer than the people in New York because there's protests in the colleges, and we're like, "You're afraid to come to Israel and there's 300,000 soldiers protecting you?" So, yes, there was a lot of fun. So, Jesse was the psycho, really the head psycho behind this whole idea. And he took us every day. We had no idea we were going. It just, every day he got up and just said, "Wherever you take us, we're going." And by the end of the trip, we were almost naked.
Okay, so my last question, and I guess perfect segue, is about our young people who are on the college campuses and who are out there in the world and are feeling under attack. What do they need? What could we give them? What advice can you give them?
Great, you take this one.
Well, this is a very loaded question, and everyone has an opinion on this. Everybody at home watching has an opinion. We all have an opinion, so I'm going to tread lightly, and I'm going to be very sensitive towards other people's feelings. But it's very upsetting. It's very upsetting to see what's happening. It's very scary to see what's happening. I'm not even in it. You know, I'm way past college. I don't even want to put myself in the shoes if that was happening on my college campus in Providence, Rhode Island, you know. But my advice to the students who are experiencing it is to get educated. It's not okay to not know the history of Israel. It's not okay to know what Israel's been and what happened to get to this point. You need to know and you need to understand, because when you know Israel's side, which is the side of truth, which is the factual side, there is no other side. You'll be able to combat anything that the other side says. You'll be able to combat because your side has the facts. It's factual. It's not fabricated. It's not made up. It's written there in everyone's history books in America, all over the world, except for in Gaza. So these are things that you need. It's your responsibility. No one's going to come save you. No one really cares about you. You have to care about you. Your family has to care about you. Your community has to care about you. So as a community as a whole, I think we all need to get better educated. I'll be honest, every day I'm getting more and more of an education. I really knew nothing. I still feel like I know nothing, even though I'm being told I know a lot of things. So it's really get educated on the state of Israel and the facts, and know how we got here and why we got here, and be confident. Be confident in yourself. Be confident in the fact that you're a Jew. You shouldn't be less Jewish because of this, if there's such a thing. You should be flaunting your Judaism, wearing your kippah. You know, if you don't make it to minyan, put on your tefillin in the library. What are they going to do? There's nothing that they could actually physically do to you. So be strong, and it's the least you could do for Israel.
So I think we got a very different perspective when we were here. One of the yeshiva boys that was doing barbecue when we came the first time, I said, "How are you doing this? How are you doing this every night?" And again, this is 10 days into it. They're now doing it for 120 plus days that they've been doing this. So even at that point, I couldn't understand it. He said, "This is how I fight." So I think it's important to understand that we're ultimately the minority, and you are on the front lines. So if you go into war, you go into your college, and you have these discussions unprepared, you're not serving the Jewish people, and you're not serving the community. You need to educate yourself, you need to know how to respond, you need to be opinionated, and you need to be strong. And you can't do that without education. Open books, but more importantly, come here and talk to people. Talk to anyone. We're sitting in Netivot. There was terrorists driving around in pickup trucks around these circles shooting people. Every single person in the state of Israel is connected and has a story. Ask, talk, speak.
So, the last few years, the SEA has been starting the mission of educating the young adults, because we started to be aware that what we take for granted, the love of Israel, we take for granted that because we grew up loving Israel, our kids will just pick it up by osmosis. And we got a rude awakening over the last few years with social media making an impact on a lot of our kids. We realized that our kids really don't know the facts. They're really questioning some of the things that Israel stands for. And we put in our mission, and the SEA has been very much now, even more so since October 7th, amping up now and taking the young adults. And that's why when the young adults want to go to Israel now, we'll do trips every month, because the more they come to Israel, the more they get educated, the more they understand what's going on. It gives them a confidence, even if they don't even discuss it with somebody, but they know themselves that they're right. So I would say, first of all, when I started doing this just 2 years ago, start reading tons of books on modern Zionism. Start understanding where Israel, all the history, all the facts, because knowledge is power. Once you know it, once you understand it, then you can handle whatever you need to handle going forward. So the message to a lot of our young adults, and even to the parents and grandparents, don't think because you grew up loving Israel that somehow even the grandkids who are helping making stuff for Israel don't even understand what's really going on, don't understand the conflict. There's so much on social media with sound bites of genocide, this and that. You don't expect our kids just to say, "Oh, it's not genocide, we know we're right." Let's educate them. And I would say that every single kid, seriously, not talking points, don't learn one-liners, read real history, understand, watch documentaries, get known, and we'll have a series of different classes. And if you want to know more, Mrs. Tokayer is a specialist in this area, and we've had her give classes. We want more of those informative for married couples, for younger generation, but we just think that only way our young adults are going to continue to love and grow for the state of Israel is by continue to come here, continue to be educated, and B'ezrat Hashem, I hope that us three can continue to inspire and move people more in a direction towards the love of Israel and to understand more about Israel.
Amen. And we want to say thank you to our participants on Kadima who've been sitting here and listening the entire time. It's been a great audience. And we hope that the rest of our trip will be inspiring to ourselves, and we'll be able to give a hug to the Jewish people.